Today we're going to look at some accessories that every DJ needs, as well as the basics. The basics being your DJ controller on your laptop, or your standalone DJ system, or whatever the DJ console is, your decks and your mixer, whatever it is you want to DJ with, you're going to need some other things as well. So if you're brand new to this, or you just want to spend a bit of money upgrading something, maybe I've got some ideas here which can help you. And I've got lots of stuff here in front of me. So let's start at the very beginning then by talking about the number one thing you're going to need, which is speakers of some type, right? There's no DJing without speakers. So there's a few options here. The first thing is you need to decide what you need them for. Now, if you're buying speakers for home, then something like a pair of these is going to be great. These are the KRK Classic, I think these are called the Classic 5s because they've got a 5-inch woofer speaker there. They sell these individually, so you need to buy a pair of these, and then that's going to give you really high quality sound at home. Not so good for parties and things like that. They're not designed for that kind of thing. So if you're going to buy one pair of speakers, look for something you can use at home, and then you're sorted for your practicing. But if you want to DJ out, you're going to need something that is a bit more robust. So one thing I think is a good idea, other than buying a separate PA system to DJ out on, as well as your speakers at home, which can be prohibitive for a hobby, is to try and get a hybrid kind of speaker. So this is one that I've found quite interesting recently. It's the Soundbox Go. So this is loud. It's got built-in Bluetooth, so you can use it just day to day and take it down the beach and all that kind of stuff. But it's also got a line in, and that means that you can plug your DJ gear into this as well and DJ using this speaker. It's also got some other smarts as well. We've actually reviewed this on the Digital DJ Tips website. So the Soundbox speakers, and they do a big one as well. This is a small one. They do a big one called the Soundbox 3. They're not cheap, but that could be a way to go if you want to buy something you can use for parties and stuff, and that you can just plonk down at home. And you might buy two of them, but one of them's a good start. It'll certainly be loud enough. Another kind of speaker you might want to consider is this type here. This is a classic portable Bluetooth speaker, really. When I say classic, it's quite a unique one, this. It's by Minirig. So you see these portable Bluetooth speakers around, don't you? You see them by JBL and other companies like that, Bose. But none of them are that good, because even if they've got the ability to plug in something like this one has with a wire, which you need for DJing, you can't Bluetooth into a speaker for DJing because you'll get what's called latency or delay on the audio. Even though they've got that, they tend to still have the delay, which is really annoying. But little speakers like these are designed to not give you any latency. It's also solid metal. It's going to last you forever. I love the little Minirig speakers. But basically, any little speaker with a line-in socket that gives you no latency when you plug in, and that's the main thing, can be a useful thing to have as well, because you can just plug your phone into it and DJ anywhere, which is great. You know, you can practice your DJing in hotel rooms and stuff and throw it into a bag and take it on holiday with you. I wouldn't go anywhere without my little Minirig. So these are the kind of speaker options you've got. Something that's definitely only for home, something that you could take anywhere you want and DJ on if you want, but also use for Bluetooth, or something that you could actually literally use at parties and also use at home and use as a Bluetooth speaker. And there's a few of those about as well. That's not the only one, but that's the one that we've got in the studio today, the Soundbox Go. Right, we've talked about speakers. Let's now move on and talk about our headphones, because as a DJ, you're going to need a pair of headphones. Why? Because you need to listen to what the crowd isn't hearing to get it ready, to get the speed right, to get your beat mixing right, and then when you're ready, mix it in. So most DJs will use headphones, and therefore you've got to make a choice. So I've got two types of headphones to show you here, which will kind of illustrate the two options you've got to, well, there's three actually, but I'm going to show you two of them because these are what most people will choose. So here is the first type. They are basic over-ear DJ headphones. These have got big padded closed back ear cups, and they've got a detachable lead. It's always good to have a detachable lead because it just means that you can swap it if it gets broken and stuff. In fact, these are very modular. These are by a company called AI. These are called the TMA2s. They've got a coiled cable. Something else I look for on DJ headphones, because it means you can stand near to the decks without them dangling around your feet, but then you can walk off with them still on in order to get something from the back of the DJ booth or whatever. So DJ headphones will always have a headband so that you can put them on your ears, one ear on, one ear off, whatever. And they'll generally be closed back, which means they have this solid back. It's not open like production headphones can be. And this is an over-ear model, and that means they're wide enough to cover your ear. Now, another very, very popular style of headphones is the on-ear headphones, and the classic headphone in that range is the Sennheiser HD25s. These are an absolute classic. They've hardly changed for years. These are, if the Technics 1210 turntable is the classic turntable, then the Sennheisers are the classic headphone. And these are on-ear, so you can see they're much, much smaller ear cups, and they go on your ear. Again, these are modular. Again, everything detaches, so things break, you can change them. But basically, they are a similar headphone in that they've got a closed back, and either of these will do you fine for DJing, or indeed other headphones that are similar to these types. So, you know, you can spend a lot on headphones. I don't think you need to spend more than $80 or $90 on a really good pair, and you don't have to spend that much. There are some bargains to be had lower than that as well. Of course, spend as much as you want. It's your hobby, but that's about the level you're looking at. Right, next on our list is cables. You're going to need to plug everything together. Now, you might get some cables with your gear. You'll probably get a computer cable if you bought a controller, and if it needs a mains, if it needs to be plugged into some kind of power, you'll probably get that as well, but you won't likely get the audio cables and stuff, so you're going to need some audio cables. Audio cables are no real trick. They're just a cable. This is a adapter in that it's got one type of cable on one end and one type on the other. Basically, look at the back of your DJ gear, look at the output, and then look at the speakers you want to plug it into, look at the input, and buy the cable that fits them. The only thing you don't want to do is mix up the big, chunky, what are called XLR cables with the smaller ones like these. It's okay to mix up these two. So here we've got, these are called TRS cables or TS cables. These are kind of like the 1/4 inch old style headphone socket type cables. It's okay to mix those up with these, which are called RCAs. That's fine. There's technical reason for that they're both what's called unbalanced cables, but that's cool, it doesn't matter. But the bigger ones, the bigger chunkier ones, like fit on microphones and onto PA systems, don't try and mix them up with these in an ideal world, because they work on a slightly different system. But other than that, your cables are all about durability. These are DJ Tech Tools cables from their store. They're very, very good. We've had them here for years, but just remember that these might get pulled in and out a lot, and they might break if you buy flimsy ones. If they're at home, frankly, flimsy ones are fine if you're never unplugging them and they're never getting used in a harsh environment. Right, so we mentioned the microphone cable a minute ago. You might well want a microphone. If you think you're ever gonna need to talk, and even the most cool club DJs like to talk sometimes, and all DJs who are taking varied gigs might well need to talk, because you might be expected to make announcements or whatever, you're going to need a microphone. The kind of microphone you want is called a dynamic microphone. This is a dynamic microphone. These are very good close up. They lose their sensitivity when you put them away. So that means that in a loud place, a microphone like this is going to be really good. You get less feedback and so on. This is the Shure, S-H-U-R-E, SM58, and it's an absolute classic. As you can see, you must have seen these all your life being held by singers, and if you've ever been anywhere where pro audio is going on, you'll have seen very, very similar mics to this. It's called the Shure SM58. It's got an on-off switch, and you plug in one of those professional cables I was talking about, XLR cables on the bottom here, to plug into the microphone input on your gear. But this kind of microphone is the type you're looking for. However much you spend, there's some great $20 versions that will see you through a few years probably before they break on Amazon, but it's the dynamic microphone you're looking for. Don't buy one that's not called a dynamic microphone. So microphone. Now the next thing is a laptop stand. Why do you need a laptop stand? Well, you can see you've got the laptop here on a stand, and the reason is the same as the reason you would want your laptop on a stand. Keeps your back straight. If you're DJing, and you should be DJing higher than a normal table, like kitchen worktop style height, similar to this, is fine for DJ gear. But if you're DJing at a table or a bench, you're going to want the laptop a bit higher, because your eyes need to be at the same level as the screen if possible. Otherwise it's down there and you're bending over to see it, especially if your eyes are going a bit like they do as you get older. So a laptop stand is a good idea. Now the type of laptop stand that I would always recommend is this kind of stand that goes into a U shape like this. You can assemble these stands into a Z as well if you want, but they fold flat, and that's the really cool thing about these, they fold flat. So the most common stand of this type is or rather one of the most famous ones is by a company called Crane. It's called the Crane stand. I don't even know if they still make it anymore. I've not heard about them for long, but there's loads of copies on it. The UDG gear have got a stand that is very similar. This is by Reloop, and this is a little bit different. This is called the Stand Hub. So the reason this is called the Stand Hub is that it's got USB. You can plug in your power and your computer, and it's got 4 USB sockets. So if you do use equipment that needs USB sockets, maybe you're using extra controllers and so on that you need to plug into your computer, well, it's a very neat way of doing it. It's not cheap, this thing, but it is a really good idea. So you could combine a USB hub with a stand if you wanted, but it's this type of stand you want. The reason I dug this one out was not particularly because it had that USB functionality. It's just because it's the kind of stand that I'm talking about, because they're versatile and they can also tuck underneath the equipment. So you could put equipment, sometimes you can tuck the stand right underneath and have your laptop right where you want it. So there's lots of ways of setting them up. So a stand for your laptop is a good idea. And now we're moving on to looking after your DJ gear. If you're taking your DJ gear out and about, it really is worth buying some protection for it. So there's a couple of pieces of DJ gear protection that I want to talk you through here. So here I have a little Denon DJ Prime Go DJ unit, and the reason I've dug this out is that I've got the kind of protection I want to talk about that I know works with this unit, because I used it myself for a whole long summer of DJing all over Europe. So there's two kinds of protection you want. This has got delicate knobs, buttons, faders and so on, and you really do want to protect those, and the best way I know to protect those is to put an acrylic stand over it. Now, just like when you think of vacuum cleaners, you think of Hoover. When you think of acrylic stands, you think of Deck Saver. This is made by a company called Deck Saver. There's videos of people jumping on these and they don't break. Look, you've got instant protection now for all the knobs, buttons, faders, jog wheels and so on, screens and stuff on here. If you don't do anything else, buy a Deck Saver cover for your gear if you're going to be taking it out and about. You can probably see how battered this one has got over the years. That battering would have happened to the controls rather than to the acrylic stand if I didn't have it. And once you've done that, once you've got your unit with a nice Deck Saver, or by the way, we've got no financial involvement with Deck Saver, they're just brilliant. Once you've done that stuff, I recommend getting some kind of bag to carry all the DJ gear we've been looking around in as well. Now, I think a soft bag like this, especially if you've got a Deck Saver over your controls, is fine. You don't need to buy big flight cases. This is a rucksack. It's got a nice handle on top for just picking it up and carrying it. This is a UDG camo bag. Again, UDG gear, I mentioned a second ago. Lots and lots of zips and pockets on it. You can fit all kinds of stuff in here. Actually fits the controller that I was showing you there very well. It's very nice, isn't it? Looks good, does the part. Look, we've really talked through all the basics here, as well as your DJ controller or your standalone unit or whatever the actual gear is that you've got. You need some kind of speakers, and it might be worth thinking about speakers that you can use in both a small party and at home if that's important to you, because you don't want to use speakers that are sold to you just for home use or studio use. In a party, you might break them. So you want some kind of speakers, and we've looked at 3 types here. You want headphones, we've looked at 2 types, on ear and over ear. You want a microphone, and if you're going to be doing any talking, you want leads. You're going to need a laptop stand if you're a laptop DJ, of course, and definitely protection, both for the gear individually, like an acrylic cover, and to put everything in so that you can carry it safely between venues. I hope you found this video useful. If you've enjoyed this, then please do watch on for another video, but meanwhile, get good, get out there, make the moments. I'll see you again very soon.